Welcome back, boys, and welcome to another video. Today we are going back to r/prorevenge. You guys seem to enjoy that subreddit, so I'm doing it again. Hope y'all enjoy. Let's get into the first post. Take my tips and pay me below minimum wage. See what happens. So this all happened years ago when I was still in college. I worked for a delivery joint. The company seemed super cool because they provided vehicles instead of forcing you to beat down your own car. Huge perk, right? Well, in this case, no. The owner of the company used this as justification to take a percentage of the driver's tips. Often this would result in the employee making below minimum wage. If you made below minimum wage, you would have to come and pick up your check in person and sign a document stating that you did make minimum wage due to undocumented cash tips or some such nonsense. This was a problem for two reasons. Number one, in the state I live in, employees' tips belong to the employee unless part of an employee tip pooling agreement. This was plain as day on the Department of Labor's website. So that 20% gouge was already crossing the line. Number two, you cannot just hand wave and or force employees to say they made above minimum wage. Pretty shady, right? Now, most people would see this situation and run for the hills, which probably explained the delivery driver turnover being so high. I, on the other hand, saw the potential. Seeing I am pretty well versed in labor law, I decided I was going to ride it out. I wanted to see how long they would keep this up for. Here and there, I would make a comment to the managers about the legitimacy of this practice, and was often told, "Our lawyer said it was okay, so it's okay." Would love to meet these lawyers one day. So I patiently waited for over a year, documenting every red cent they took from me, and encouraging the other drivers to do so. Every new driver that came through the door got a little powwow with me, and I gave them a skinny. No clue what that means, but we shall continue. Unfortunately, my plan must have leaked because sooner or later, the joint decided to fire me after making up 3 bogus infractions. If you're interested in those, ask, and I'll explain, and then edit. This wasn't a problem though, as my plan was already in action. See, in the state where unpaid wages collect interest. So, what was $20 to $40 a night, 5 nights a week, over 1 year, quickly became a decent sum of money. So I began collecting the names of current and previous employees whom had been screwed over by the company, and collected their documented data, then sent it over to the Department of Labor. At the end of the day, it took a couple of months, but the company eventually required to pay a decent chunk of change to all parties and a pretty hefty fine on top. Overall, I believe it came out to a little under 100K. I wasn't done though. See, those shady little documents they had us sign claiming we made over minimum wage affected how the company was reporting its payroll tax. The IRS eventually came in and hit them with a ton of back taxes, and I received a small portion of the settlement. The IRS used to pay people who tipped them off, and I don't know if they still do. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, it's the Rule 160, if I remember correctly, and I'm pretty sure they still do pay you back. If it's a large sum of money, they will pay you a very small percentage of it, like 5 to 10% of what they get back, because you tipped them off to it, which is a pretty cool law, I'm not gonna lie. So, Yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, yeah, let's get back to it. Um, yeah. Finally, I was increasingly aware of the company under the table agreement with their health inspector, which I decided to go ahead and just tip off to the health department. This resulted in even more fines and temporary closure of the joint. Altogether, it ended up costing this dumb little delivery joint a ton of money just to stay open, all because they wanted 20% of the driver's tips. The moral here is, know your labor laws. It is degenerates like these whom profit off ignorance or fear of the workforce. The more you know about your rights, the less idiots like these will be able to survive in the wild. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And I'll read the edit because it's kind of interesting. Holy crap, I did not expect this to blow up. To address a few things, the infractions that led me to termination and their BS nature are down in the comments. Hopefully, they are not buried. I also wanted to address something I saw in the comments quite a bit. If you're in this situation that does not seem right, document everything. Keep a little black notebook, and write everything down. The most important thing you can do is protect yourself from the nonsense of the workplace and document earnings. You can always contact your state EEOC branch or DLO branch. They will gladly help you. Only by fighting back will they ever learn their lesson. Thank you again for all the questions, and thank you to the fine folks who found this worthy of an award. I probably won't edit again, because the rules of the subreddit state you may not make a lot of edits. If there's a reason for a big one, I will go ahead and make another one. Well, that was a pretty good thing of revenge, because he kind of almost just took down an entire business because they just didn't want to pay him 20% of his tips. It's a pretty scummy thing in my opinion, but I guess that's why I'm not an employer who does such a thing. And anyway, good revenge, OP. Our next Reddit post is, teacher makes a false claim of me faking an injury so my mom messes with her career. I apologize for the format I'm typing on my phone screen. I, a 15-year-old female, have a long and elaborate history with injuries, especially breaking my arm. Starting from literally the day I was born, my health had been complicated. I have a few conditions, but none serious enough to impact my daily life, and as I know it. I have a very weak immune system and somewhat easy to break bones. On top of that, I'm the definition of clumsy and also a huge idiot who gets herself in dangerous situations for fun. My mom, 40 female, has obviously known me from birth and knows the extent of my weird bad luck with health issues. I've broken my arm a collective of 13 times over my life. I almost every time get injured or sick. It seems somebody has something to say about it. I don't know why, but teachers just love to say that students didn't get hurt. They're often seeking attention. And a lot of the relationships with authority figures have been harmful because of this. I know what this is like, because I have a sick immune system as well. But I know what this is like. I feel for you, OB. It sucks. Every time it's the same. For some reason, a teacher doesn't believe me. They call me a liar in front of everyone. I get bullied for a while, and then I try to prove to them that I'm not faking. I could post so many stories about teachers doing this, but this story time is about the time my mom actually managed to get revenge. This took place in 7th grade. I was 12 at the time, and I had broken my wrist by climbing on top of something I wasn't supposed to and then falling off like a dumbass. My wrist was in a Velcro cast since I am very allergic to the regular cast material, as they figured out through many cases of trial and error. My teacher, let's call her Miss Tablet, since this took place when we were learning about Egyptian tablets, she taught history, and our personalities clashed a bit. I'm more creative, adventurous, free thinker type, and she's more conservative, by the book, and proper. We hadn't had any real issues before, but we didn't mesh well. She was absent one day, and we had a sub. I knew the sub as one of my teacher's friends and one of my bully's moms. I didn't like her, but I was still respectful in her class and just tried to get my work done. She got me in trouble for doodling on my paper once or twice, but other than that, I was fine. Or so I thought. The next day I went into class like usual. We were working on our assignment about Egypt and their tablets. Miss Tablet called me over to her desk. I went over thinking she was just on to me for drawing on the back of my homework or something, only to be bombarded with a bunch of weird questions. The interaction went something like this. Teacher: so, Fire, do you know why I've called you up here? I know Fire isn't my Reddit name, but it's the IRL nickname I use, so I'm using it here. No, ma'am, I can't say I do. Teacher: how long have you had that cast? About a week now. Why? Teacher: do you really need that cast? Me: yes. Teacher: well, the substitute told me she saw you take it off. Me: it's a cast. I can't take it off. It would hurt. Teacher: so if I asked the class, they'd say you need a cast. Me: yes. And teacher: and if I called your parents right now, they'd say the same thing. Me: yes. They were the ones who took me to the hospital. And she did this in front of the entire class. I was eventually dismissed, and people looked at me weird for the rest of the class. As I learned later, apparently my substitute had told Miss Tablet I had taken my cast off as soon as I left the class. I didn't, and threw it in my locker. Haha, I'm getting away with doing less work. So basically, she pretended I was the bad guy in a crappy high school movie. I don't know why she said this, but I had my teacher convinced that I was a liar and a fake. I technically couldn't remove my cast since it was Velcro, but it would have been extremely painful, and it's not like I could just walk around without it. I wasn't going to make a big deal about it at the time, but it turns out she was serious about calling my parents, but she made a mistake of calling my mom. Now, me and my mother don't have a perfect relationship. She has anger issues, and I don't always get along well. But she loves me very much and doesn't let people like this mess around if she can stop it. According to my mom, Miss Tablet called her all cocky and said, apparently your daughter is wearing a cast. Did you know? And well, we all know how dramatic teenage girls can be, especially unique kids like her. She apparently even threatened me, suspended before my mom stopped her and tore her to shreds for talking about her child like that. I don't think I'm allowed to repeat what she said, but by the end, Miss Tablet had retreated with her tail tucked between her legs. She started being even more cold to me after that day, and started giving me unfair detentions for not sitting still and doodling on the side of my worksheets. Even then, outside of school, We went to the same art studio sometimes. Weird that someone who hates art so much likes to paint, and poisoned the art director against me and got me put in a lower class. When my mom found out about this, she started the real revenge. My mom has never been a PTA mom. She honestly can't stand the most of the PTA mom members, and their kids are often favorites at my school and use this to bully others, including me and my friends. My mom, however, is however friends with a very lovely woman on the country school board, which has more power than the PTA. She told her friends everything that happened and supplied her all the doctor's notes needed to prove I needed a cast. Her friend managed to convince the rest of the board that Mrs. Tablet was discriminating against an impaired student, giving her comments about me being slower at all the work and just wearing the cast to slack off, along with the tension related to me not sitting still when she knew I was nervous and had slight ADHD. At the art studio, my mother pulled me from the classes. I took it upon myself to inform the fellow kids about why, and rumors spread quickly. Soon enough, kids were getting pulled left and right out of my art class. The teacher was pulling at strings and trying to get the situation under control. I actually think the studio went into temporary closure before reopening again. She was suspended for a week to go under investigation, and it turns out she treated a lot of the unique, as she put it, students in a similar way. She was verbally reprimanded by 2 different departments, and instead of her getting a standard raise over the next 3 years, she only got half of that. Not only that, but she had to retake a course on how to properly treat students. And if she ever crossed the line again, she'd lose tenature. So just be getting her bonus back in the start of the next school year. And I'd like to say that I hope she learned her lesson. TLDR. Teacher claims I'm faking my broken wrist. Calls my mom. Mom calls her friend at the country school board and gets her suspended for discrimination and gets an unfair art program temporarily closed. I had misremembered the punishment the teacher had given, or the teacher that the teacher had given. Upon my mom asking my mom to retell the story, I fixed it and made it accurate. Thank you, the Redditor pointed out. I suppose that my 12-year-old self remembered a raise as a bonus for some reason. Well, I liked that story, actually. It was very good in my opinion, because I have dealt with something very similar, and I didn't actually do what she did. But I'm happy that she actually did what she did, because teachers like that deserve to get what they deserve. So, good for you, Opie. I'm glad. But anyway, hope y'all have a good day. And, yeah, subscribe, like, comment, peace.